At first, this video was supposed to be just about Will Smith, the highest ranked US NTDP prospect on a majority of lists. Smith has had a great season for the program, and he's a highlight reel machine. But then I realized, this season again, many of the program's prospects will probably go high in the first round of the NHL draft. I couldn't really ignore Leonard, Oliver Moore, and Gabe Perreault. And there's also Jayden Perron, who's playing in the USHL. And he's a player that we really like at Elite Prospects. So instead of just focusing on one player, I'm going to cover them all in this video. We're going to look at their strengths and flaws and their NHL projection. This video will probably be longer than usual and feature a lot of information. So set aside some time, take out a notepad if you have to, and let's dive in.
Back behind the defense is Smith. Smith in all alone, backhanded as the rebound found by Perreault, and the US breaks our scoreless tie.
Oliver Moore jumps on the ice and gets this puck with a timely stick lift. He shows his acceleration potential and his vision by making a nice lob pass to evade the forecheck. The pass was a bit risky, but it helps him break free. It becomes a long give and go. Moore misses the reception, but he has a good idea here. He looks behind him for support and then drops the puck to Nelson. Meanwhile, Perron is in a defensive position. He stays in that position until his team breaks out. He finds this passing lane, gets the puck on the breakout, and carries it to the offensive zone. Watch him slow down to bait this poke check to beat the defender. He turns back, attacks space, and prepares a pass across with a backhand toe drag. Perron is a high-skilled player who can be very creative at times. His handling skills are some of the best in the draft. He's also good defensively. Watch him slide back to his zone here. He scans to find the incoming attacker, anticipates the pass, and cuts it with his stick. That was a great read from him.
He was checked by Smith. Gabe Perreault overskated it. Loose out in front, Emerson. Got the shot. Fine stop by Trey Augustine on the turnover. Smith trying.
This shift starts in the defensive zone. Leonard steals the puck and carries it up ice. He avoids passing to Smith as Smith is covered and instead drops the puck to Perreault, who really should have shot here. What makes Leonard a top prospect is his all-around skills and his desire to attack the middle of the ice. He makes the best possible play here. He charges at the defenders, pushes them back, and creates space for Perreault. Perreault is a great playmaker. He really wanted to find Smith here, but Smith wasn't open. We focus a lot on awareness in these videos, but the only way to make good decisions is to get a good picture of the ice first. Smith shows a good example of awareness and passing skills right after. He baits a poke check and opens up the defender to create a passing lane to his defenseman here.
Hit traffic, knocked down by Jack Harvey of Chicago. And Harvey playing it to neutral territory. Look out. Emerson coming in, got the shot, scores!
Oliver Moore's main ability is his speed. He's the fastest player in this US NTDP by far. You can see his acceleration off this face-off. He's a few steps behind his opponent, but he still cleanly wins this puck. Not only is Moore fast, but he processes the ice extremely fast too. You can see him fake a cut inside here. He makes the defender reach before turning back to the wall with his head up and in full control of the puck. Fisher is fully open here, an easy option, but Moore sees the better play. He sends a pass through two defenders to Austin Bernovic in front of the net for a tap-in. Moore's line then stops a few breakout by the steal. You can see both the defensive work of Moore and Perron as they move to cover their check and also jump to be an option offensively when their team recovers the puck. Perron then helps create this breakout by finding this passing lane, but he can't beat the defenders, so he passes back. Maybe he could have dumped the puck in, but Perron is more of a passer than a rusher or a forechecker. He's not very dynamic at this stage.
Right side for defense partner Chris Abel. Teams looking to change in a 1-0 Chicago lead.
Smith's line is on the ice now. Perreault steals this pass. He doesn't have the speed to force defenders back to open space for teammates, so he makes the second best play, the smart early pass. It almost turns into a tic-tac-toe goal, but Leonard's pass ends up just behind Smith. One thing that the Smith line has to work on is their defensive game. They're a bit loose in their gaps with opponents, and they lack a bit of awareness of the other team's options. It doesn't matter too much in their projection right now, but they will have to improve this facet of their game at the next levels. Here's a good example of defensive pressure. Nelson backchecks hard, and then Moore stops the play at his defensive blue line. The puck gets dumped in, and Moore gets it. Seeing 3 forecheckers on him, he doesn't try to outspeed them, but makes a long stretch pass that beats all 3 of the opponents. That was a smart decision. The play turns into a zone entry. His defenseman carries the puck in, and there's a shot on net. Contrary to many players with great skating, Moore doesn't only rely on his speed to beat opponents. He uses his teammates at every occasion. He plays a really collective game. This is a very interesting shift from Perron. It shows two things. First, his ability to find open spaces and passing lanes to get the puck. We already saw that ability on breakouts, but now we get to see it in the offensive zone. He tries to play between defenders and to surprise his coverage with his movements. Here, to get the inside track on this cycle pass, he stays close to his defenseman and then jumps toward it as it comes. Perron is on the smaller side and quite light, so he does get pinned to the wall here. But what matters is not what's happening right now, but his projection. Perron already has some good physical habits. He puts himself between the opponent and the puck and slows down that opponent with his body to create some space to handle or pass. Wall battles will always be harder for Perron, but the skills and habits he shows here will serve him well in the pro game when he gets stronger.
Up front, looks like, with Ryan Leonard and Zia Boyum on defense. Boyum trying to work by Harvey in the USAN.
Ryan Leonard has his creative moments, but he's not as good at manipulating defenders as some of his teammates. He gets the puck here and tries to carry it, but he doesn't use the right crossover patterns. He should have brought his defender further to the middle of the ice to then attack wide, but he cut his route short and the defender got in his way. He's a good bumper player for the US and TDP, however, on the power play. Watch him off this faceoff. He stays in between the four defenders around him and scans the ice to adapt his position and be ready for passes. If it was not for a timely stick check by Jayden Perron here, he probably would have scored. The puck exits the zone. We see Perreault's playmaking potential here. He attacks between two defenders, forces the middle one to move away, then changes speed as he attacks the other way. He just needed to complete the pass here to make this a great play. Perron intercepts, sees his teammate, and then takes a massive hit from Leonard to make this play. Once again, we see that Perron is not afraid of taking contact despite his size.
They're offside, they do not, they get reset. Back come the U18s, trailing by 2. Left wing at Perreault over the line. Bouncing to...
In this shift, we see the Smiths line's creativity. They exchange the puck quickly, involve their defensemen in their play, and give passing options in between checks. Some of their passes miss, but the playmaking ideas are clear. Perron also has similar abilities to get open. He rushes the puck, fakes a wide drive, pushes back the defenders, and then cuts inside for a shot on that. He then keeps the offense alive. He circles high, anticipates the breakout, wins back the puck, passes it quickly to a teammate, and then positions inside space for a tap-in. Unfortunately, his teammate misses him. The Smith lines counterattacks. Smith pulls off an incredibly difficult pass through two opponents to a streaking Perreault who splits the defense.
Got a backhand shot! Oh, and Stark looked behind him, but he made...
This is a much better power play sequence from the Smith line. All of their passes are deceptive. Perreault is also more aggressive in his choices of play. Like here, where he attracts the defense before reaching Leonard at the goal line. Leonard then slips the puck to Smith, the main quarterback of the power play. Watch how Smith moves to drag defenders away, shift the defensive box, and open passing lanes.
Getting a slight piece of that. Jack Stark, good play by Smith to hold it at the point. Leonard giving chase and Smith, a bouncing puck along the left boards. Plays it in deep, centered out in front, failed to click, and Perron for Chicago. Safe play, banks it off the board.
Smith finds himself in two bad situations, but he always finds ways to get the puck back to teammates with skillful, deceptive moves and by buying time for them to get in position. Smith's awareness, poise, deception, and high-level handling skills are what makes him such a great playmaker. Now it's Moore's turn to show his skills. He creates the entry with good crossover patterns and sends the puck into space to help his teammates establish their presence. His line cycles the puck around on the other side of the ice, back and forth, before sending it back toward Moore. Moore doesn't show it as often, but he is equally as deceptive as Smith and Perreault. He catches this pass at his hip, attracts the defense, and gets the puck to Nelson for a great scoring chance. So before we get into the second period, let's do a quick recap of what we've seen from the forwards we're studying in this game. Oliver Moore's game is based around his high-level skating and passing ability. Ryan Leonard has many all-around qualities, but he's a bigger physical and slot threat than his teammates. Gabe Perreault and Will Smith both are playmakers at heart who manipulates defenders with their fakes and changes of speed. Smith, so far, has been a bit better at completing difficult plays. Jayden Perron is smaller than the other players, but he applies himself defensively, moves well away from the puck to find passing lanes, and he also creates with his passing ability and handling skills.
I'm sure the draft experts are looking.
Smith plays a lot in anticipation on the ice, offensively and defensively. He guesses what's going to happen and tries to get ahead of the play to catch opponents off guard. Here, there's a battle on the wall. The safe play is to stay higher to cover in case the other team breaks out. but Smith senses an opportunity to intercept the puck. He moves forward, catches a pass, then drags defenders to the middle before passing back to Perreault, who tries to cut inside to fire on net. The play fails, but a strong backcheck from Leonard gives the line another opportunity to attack. Leonard has speed, but he's not as good at making something out of nothing as his teammates. He tries to force his way through the defense, but lacks the momentum to do so. But two nice passes from Perreault and Smith gives the team a scoring chance. The first pass by Perreault was especially impressive. He turned around, protected the puck, and hooked it to Smith. Perreault often acts as the connector on his line. The puck rarely stays on his stick for long. He attracts defenders, manipulates them, and then sends passes to his teammates.
The center. Tried a cross-ice feed that was taken away.
This is a good forecheck by Perron here. He takes away the easy pass option, disrupts the breakout, and creates a great scoring chance. If the pass to him was just a little more precise, he could have maybe scored off of it. One of the issues with Perron is that, in a pinch, he sometimes forces passes to the slot. This pass had to go through 3 defenders to get to his teammate near the net. His next play is much better, however. Once again, he controls his skating and scans ahead to stay in the passing lane. He gets this puck, fakes a shot, and finds his teammate in front of the net. That's another barely missed scoring chance. A few seconds later, Perron gets another rush chance and shows his physical skills. He pushes back on the forechecker, slips in front of him, and then sends the puck inside space to his teammate, accelerating in the wide lane. Another good, smart play. We saw a bit of everything of Perron in this shift. His defensive engagement, his physical skills, his off-puck instincts, and his playmaking. There's a defensive zone face-off here. Leonard knocks this puck ahead, and Perreault chases after it. He generates enough speed to catch up with the opponent and create a turnover. The other team retains control, but just for a moment. Smith, standing a bit higher on the play, senses an opportunity to come down for a steal. He takes the puck and makes a backhand pass to Ryan Leonard. Smith has prepared his passes very well so far in this game. In that sequence, despite being not super balanced, he fakes a shot or a pass across to attract the defensive attention and let Leonard come closer to the net. If it was not for a timely stick check by Jayden Perron here, he probably would have scored.
We get along the half wall. William to the right corner. Heads to the goal line. Jams it out in front. Checked on the play. And a shot! Saved by Stark.
Now it's Perron's time to shine. His team is in the defensive zone here, and he has to find a breakout. He scans behind him for options, sees that the first passing lane is closed, so he spins on himself to get the puck to his other teammate. That's a good sign of adaptability. Perron is the last man to enter the zone, so he has to cover for his defenseman. Then he comes down and tries his best to free himself from coverage to find a scoring opportunity. He finally gets the puck on the back wall and tries to send it in front to his teammate. Again, we see his tendency to force plays to the slot, instead of just finding the next open teammate. At 5'8", Perron will need a lot of speed to function in the NHL. He doesn't have quite that level just yet, but that very well could change. Look at him go here. He catches up to the 2-on-1 and breaks it. Perron has great extensions when he strides and good form too. His knees advance past his toes, he has good knee bend, and his back is not too rounded. He has a projectable stride. It's very possible that Perron will become a lot faster as he adds strength, because he has the efficient mechanics to translate more strength into power. Compare Perron's stride to Perreault in the other sequence. Perreault's strides are shorter because he recovers his skates very wide of his center of mass. Perreault's back is also rounded here, which doesn't allow him to use his full power. And now in this shift, we get a look at Smith's skating. His stride lacks depth and he's very hunched over. The skating form of Perreault and Smith has a lot of mechanical flaws. Because of that, it might be harder to translate strength into speed for them in the long term. Perron's skating could turn into a strength over the next few years, but it seems unlikely that the same thing will happen to Perreault and Smith. A bit later in this shift, we see Ryan Leonard rush the puck again. Leonard is strong and balanced. He pushes the puck ahead, absorbs a hit, and forces the defender to push him into space. He gets a step on the next defender, protects the puck, and then slides it around the goalie's stick in the same motion. Unfortunately, he's a bit late to recognize that Smith has popped into space for a pass here after his net drive. The lane closes and he misses the play. The reason Smith's skating flaws might not matter too much is that he has a great anticipation of the play. He knows what's coming and he's already moving to support the next play before it happens.
Oliver Moore in front of the penalty box area. Jamboree on his side of center put out in front of the players' benches. And it's played in by Bernovic. This is a race for the puck. Moore against Buffalo.
Oliver Moore accelerates to try and win the puck on the forecheck here, showing his speed once again. He battles, but doesn't manage to fully stop the opposition from carrying the puck out. He's a good example that stride mechanics aren't the only thing that matters. He's not really a textbook skater. His upper body tends to move up and down as he skates around, but he's very quick with his crossovers and capable of folding over his skates when he cuts back. He seems naturally explosive as an athlete, and he really makes use of his speed on the forecheck. Here we see another example of his forechecking ability. He wins this race, but doesn't go for the puck. He uses his body to protect it first, and then looks for a teammate. Seeing nothing interesting, he makes a safe play and rims the puck around. Just a bit later, the Smiths line, which now features Nelson, tries to connect on a bunch of creative passing plays. They forecheck well and create a turnover. Perreault gets the puck and cuts inside. He drags defenders that way and hooks the puck to his teammate. Smith, after a short battle on the wall, also drives inside and finds Nelson in the slot. But Nelson misses his shot. The line's forecheck isn't intense enough in the second half of their shift. Smith could skate harder to try and get the puck back. Contrast his drive here to Moore's on the last shift. His pressure is still enough for his team to establish another presence in the offensive zone. But once again, Smith shies away from truly engaging. He stays on the outside of this defender when he should be working to get in front of the goalie. Smith is better when he's allowed to play in open space, where he can anticipate the flow of the play and position himself to receive the puck. As for Perreault, we have seen him manipulate defenders quite often in this game. He's really good at turning their feet one way and passing or moving the other way. He's a player who thinks ahead to his next move and prepares that move very well. He always looks to set up teammates, sometimes to a fault.
Tried to work by Fortescue first. Slaggert on the back check took it away. Guzzo chopping it ahead, intercepted by Jayden Perron.
The steal regroups in the neutral zone. Perron picks up speed, he gets the puck, attacks inside, and tries a give and go. He passes wide and rushes the net. Moore gets the puck back. He doesn't try to force his way through. He cuts laterally and tries to drop the puck in a runway for a teammate coming in behind. This is a good idea that fails due to execution. He could have aimed the pass a little better. Again, it's a pretty big positive that Moore always looks to use his teammates like this. A lot of players who have this kind of speed become obsessed with outskating defenders. It's not always the case with him. His game is more diverse.
Leonard, puck goes flying, stick goes flying high in the air. Leonard picks it up again. Brnovic with Moore and Leonard.
Perron also has a good collective game. Here he picks up this puck in a crossover toward the middle of the ice and then cuts back down before passing to his teammate who just freed himself in the wide line. Reception details are often overlooked, but they matter a lot. Because Perron moves to the middle of the ice on his first touch, he forces Leonard that way, which then allows him to start manipulating him. Leonard wants to cut this pass. Perron knows that, so he cuts back the other way, locks his eyes ahead like he's driving forward, and he pulls the trigger on the pass at the precise moment when Leonard turns toward him, which makes it a lot harder for Leonard to stop the pass. It's a simple play, but it shows how smart Perron is. We see the same reception planning here from Moore on this breakout. He sees the incoming defender, and instead of demanding the puck with his back turned to the opponent, which would expose him, he catches with his feet pointed up ice, which allows him to bait a poke check, evade it, and pull off this pass.
Augustine, juggling by two, work with the man advantage. Smith with Leonard, and Henriksen up front. Perreault on one point, William on the other.
Here's a great rush from Smith. His skating looks a lot better in crossovers. He attacks, pushes back the defense, and lets the puck slide through a defender. He picks it up on the other side and sends it around the zone to a teammate. The USNTDP establishes its presence in the zone. Quickly, the play starts running through Smith again. He fires at the net, his first shot rebounds to Leonard, who is still in the bumper spot. Leonard, skates facing the net, still manages to get his stick on that puck. Then Smith, picking up speed from the blue line, manages to get his shot through. It leads to a rebound that Leonard puts in.
And the shot, Leonard scores! He dug that puck free. It went to Leonard and he made no mistake.
Perron gets a great scoring chance at the start of this shift, by staying a bit high inside space after a face-off. His team steals the puck and he's in a great position to fire on net.
For Michael Haggins. Dowd back for Chicago. Perron right wing over the USA line, trying to work by Danny Nelson. Plays it to the other side. Austin Brnovic settles it down.
A bit later, Moore creates his team's attack. He scans ahead, sees his pressure, and simply deflects the puck to his teammate. He then skates ahead to give back an option. Like I said before, at his best, Moore plays a really collective game. He thinks ahead, just like Perreault, but plays with a lot more pace than most players in this draft. Out of the three forwards on Smith's line, Leonard is probably the one with the highest potential defensive impact. He backchecks and stops the play here, and then sends the puck to Smith up the ice. This sequence is a perfect illustration of what Smith does so well, but also one of his flaws.
Smith takes it wide against Dowd. Will Smith along the right boards, and it's forced out center ice.
He manipulates the defender here by moving from one side of the opponent's body to the other one while keeping the puck at his hip. He changes speed, baits a poke check, and then as soon as the defender commits, he turns back. But there's really no play to turn back 4 here. Smith is alone versus 5 on his side of the ice. The better, simpler play would have likely been to rim or pass the puck to his support on the other side of the ice. So once again, we see both Smith's ability to manipulate defenders and his tendency to try a bit too much. That's another great shift from Moore. He starts with a high-level acceleration. He tries to move past the defender, but feeling the pressure, he turns back and runs the other way. He circles the zone and then backhands the puck on net. His shot creates a great rebound. This is a really interesting sequence. First, let's look at his skating once again. Look how much separation he gets with this deep cutback. And again, he's not just speedy, he's also smart with his routes. He makes sure to prepare his drive around by faking an attack inside that freezes the next defender for a second, giving him space to run around. Once again, Moore is not just a pair of skates. He processes the play very fast. He can protect the puck in flight, and he can manipulate defenders with his skating too. And Moore finishes the sequence with another creative play. He gets the puck back after the other team fails their attack. He takes his first touch in the middle of the ice and tries the same play as before. He drops the puck to his teammate with a touch of his backhand. The puck is still a bit too far in front, but once again, it was a great playmaking idea. A good solution to pressure here. At this stage, what matters most is not really the result of his plays, but the way he thinks the game and approaches it. We can hope that, in time, with skill development and even better teammates, Moore will hit on many more of those creative passes. The game is almost over, but Perron has time for one last scoring chance. The puck deflects to him, he sends it to his teammate attacking through the middle, and then moves in for a rebound. Unfortunately, he misfires. That's one last good example of Perron's off-puck instincts. Because he drove the net at the right speed and at the right 45-degree angle, he put the game-winning goal on his stick. It's again Perron who creates the most in this overtime period shift. He gets the puck off this face-off and looks for a play in the offensive zone. He settles on an area pass to his teammate, then drives the net, while establishing body positioning on the defender to get his stick on a return pass. Despite his size, he continues to show good habits in battles. Perreault then makes a couple of fakes against his defender to buy time for Paul Fisher to skate the length of the ice. A great lob pass and the defenseman gets a shot on net. A bit later in overtime, we get to see Leonard and Moore's chemistry. Moore carries the puck in. He drops it to Leonard, who shows his own ability to deceive. He fakes a shot and sends the puck back to Moore at the back door. And then it's Leonard's time to pop open for Moore. Both players are usually good at finding space at 5-on-5, but those skills only shine more in a 3-on-3 setting. This final shift from Smith shows both his high-end skills and also his skating limitations. He lacks the necessary balance to pull off this dangle here, but he still recovers, fakes the defense, and sends a great lob pass to his teammate at the back door. And here, despite starting ahead, he almost loses this race. He recovers the puck and makes a precise stretch pass to Perreault, who also manipulates his defender by forcing him down the zone, before turning back to hit Smith in stride with a pass. Unfortunately, Smith misfires, and then he lacks the necessary acceleration to beat the defense to this last pocket of space for what could have been a great scoring chance. This was just one game of these prospects. We didn't get to see the full extent of their skill set or their weaknesses, but the shifts we got still gave us a pretty good indication as to who they are as players. Moore can burn past defenders, but his speed and accelerations don't fully define him. He's also a fast processor of the play, a playmaker who likes using his teammates, manipulates defenders to open passing lane, and uses his skating to pressure the opposition into mistakes. He was more defensively engaged than Smith and Perreault in this game too. But we're not sure how his game is going to look at higher levels, when he doesn't have a pace advantage over opponents. Will Smith is one of the best one-on-one manipulators in the draft. He deceives defenders with his posture, hesitation moves, fakes, with his movements, with crossovers off the rush, and with quick passing plays. He also positions himself well away from the puck to get it from teammates. His effort is not consistent defensively, but the biggest long-term concern with him is his skating. Its mechanics are very flawed, so there's a high chance that it remains a weakness. Ryan Leonard is the jack of all trades on his line, the all-around effective player. He can rush the puck, make plays, play the bumper position, retrieve pucks on the boards, catch up to attackers on the back check, and finish scoring chances. He's very skilled and quite easy to project to an NHL role, even a top 6 one. It's very possible that his handling skills would shine a lot more away from Perreault and Smith, who likes having the puck so much. Gabe Perreault is the connector on his line. He doesn't skate with the puck as much. He attracts and deceives defenders, creates space for teammates, and then feeds them the puck. He's also pretty good at positioning away from it offensively. Just like Smith, he's a great passer who also has skating issues. Finally, Jayden Perron. Perron isn't scoring as much and he's 5'8", so there are knocks against him. But his hockey sense shines in the way he positions himself to support teammates defensively and get the puck from them on breakouts, and in the way he prepares his passes with his movement. His game is quite mature. He tries hard defensively, identifies opposing plays ahead of time, and he even has some physical habits on the boards. He's the most complex projection. Few players look like him in the NHL. He's not as dynamic as Cole Caulfield or as creative as other small NHL forwards. That being said, he has more room for improvements than many other prospects in this draft. His skating technique is sound. He could add a lot more speed over the next years. And he has physical habits. Maybe he can become decently effective on the boards despite his size.
Plant looking out front. He's got Hagens. The Perron score! Puma Perron!
The lesson of this video is that all 5 of these forwards have great potential. With a few key improvements, they could all become dominant NHL players in a few years.
Absolutely. Turnover now puts UND under pressure and Will Smith is there to finish.
So that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. You can also check out eprinkside.com for more prospect analysis.